This is your Anime Watch Club. We're watching Angel Beats this week and wiping away each other's tears in a manly circle.
That's right.
Yes. Run it, boys.
Yeah, it's like a circle jerk, but crying.
Yeah,
And
it's
we're
like
just
a
wiping each other's-
I'm
we're
sure
just
there's a
wiping each other's
clever name
tears.
for that, like a circle tear jerk.
Nothing
Um,
sexual. You're just wiping
sounds pretty
everybody's tears
clever.
off his face.
Yeah, nothing
Just
weird about it.
Our manly shame circle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know how it is. Just a couple
Yeah.
boys getting together, watching some anime girls, and being sad about their backstories.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you guys were just watching the girls.
Well,
I had
yeah.
my eyes on a fucking blindfolded blonde beauty over there just fucking breakdancing for no goddamn
Yeah,
reason.
let's set the record straight right now. This
Yeah.
is not an Angel Beats video. This is a TK appreciation.
Yeah, we're
video.
actually all just TK stands, and yeah.
That's it. End of video. Goodbye.
And I can't find a figure of Yuri anywhere, and I'm frustrated.
Well,
That's.
I'm frustrated. You don't have to be.
one has to exist somewhere.
It is, but they're fucking trash or expensive.
So I was actually looking up Angel Beat figures the other day, and the only one I found was actually of Angel. I'm
Yeah.
like, where's the TK shit?
Yeah, the Angel.
I can't
ton.
find TK shit anywhere.
Yeah, like sometimes they just pick like certain ones to make.
Oh,
Like,
of course, but
they're
I mean,
way better
fuck.
at that now, and I'm sure like anyone who like does buy figures probably knows that. Is that they're way better at making them now of like the popular characters.
Yeah, well, now it's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, anime's grown so
Yeah,
much.
it's like that's how they figured. They were like, oh, people actually want to buy this shit. Then they marketed it and they make money. Yeah. So, Angel Beats, right? Kind of a weird name when you think about it, because there is a character called Angel, but then you're like, I don't really
And you got
understand the
TK
rest.
dropping the beats.
Yeah, his sick beats. He's like, I kiss you.
Yeah. God.
Oh yeah, so we kind of get dropped in with our he's nameless at the beginning, right? Because he doesn't remember his name.
Yeah, the first introduction was he didn't remember. Well, I mean, like it didn't show his name right off the bat. Obviously,
Yeah.
It just kind of showed him going, "What the fuck is going on?" And then as they talk, he's like, "I don't remember anything."
Yep. And then he meets my my purple hair sniper queen, Yuri.
He's just standing there with a sniper for no reason whatsoever.
Giving her the
Other
rundown, fucking up his world, being like, "Hey, you're dead, bud."
Yeah, you gonna join my resistance group?
Yeah, we're fighting against God, by the way, and you're like, what?
Yeah, it was a weird introduction to the series for sure.
It's kind of like slammed onto you at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, and I've watched it in the past where like it just starts off and it's like you hit the ground running, but like the way this one started was definitely a lot different than what I have seen.
Yeah,
and I dug it.
And
It left a lot of questions, which was cool because obviously it was going to be explained more and more.
it's kind of like how with the last one, how we watched Trigun, and we were kind of like, are you gonna get to the point? This one kind of like does it, and then leaves like small things of mystery in there that you're like, oh, it's gonna come later, and then it comes at the right time.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to.
Almost everything in this series came around full circle, except for TK. What the fuck?
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of characters.
Yeah, there's so many characters, and
Yeah,
I wish I could remember their names. But
the best way I've heard it described, because like I said that I've seen it before, is that TK is essentially the like comic relief of the heavy content of
For
it,
sure.
because everyone else has like a tragic thing. He's like a mysterious, like barely speaks Japanese, drops these like weird English lines from movies and like songs, and that's it. And then he pretty much always saves them too. So like when something goes on, he saves them.
Yeah, he's always one of the first people to sacrifice himself.
oh yeah,
And yeah, so we kind of get introduced to that. We get introduced to Angel, who is the antagonist at this point, because they believe that she's working with God to basically force them to leave this like purgatory that they're in, because what they've guessed is that they're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, in the beginning episode, there's no. It doesn't exactly get explained why they're in purgatory or what the purpose of them being in this purgatory is, but Yuri does explain a little bit, like that Angel obviously is the antagonist, and that essentially you can't die. You're almost stuck here, and that
Mhm.
what her and her group are doing is fighting against quote unquote God.
Yeah, and that was a pretty cool scene there at the beginning where Yuri was telling who Yuzuru, who doesn't know who he is, who as a watcher we don't know who he is either.
So he's also Otonashi for a long time in that too, before they know his name.
Right. But Yuri points at Angel's like, yeah, she's the angel. We're we're
She's
defending
basically this
her.
like almost like subhuman type thing, because she has like these powers that she can defend against bullets. She has like weapons that she can create from nowhere, and it kind of gives her this like persona of that she's the villain.
Almost like a Terminator vibe.
Yeah, and it
like
goes to the point
emotion.
to where it's the villain. She's clearly the villain, so like he joins this group.
And the thing about Angel also is like she's completely emotionless. Like her
Yeah.
facial expression doesn't change. Like her voice doesn't change tone at all, no matter what. So that kind of gives her like that, like kind of steers you in the direction that Angel is clearly like the villain.
Yeah, basically, almost like, because they kind of make it seem also like that she's computer programmed almost.
Yeah, not human almost.
Yeah, and that's kind of how they put it up,
I really like that scene in the beginning where he just walks up to her and is like, "Hey, this is really weird.
Yeah. What's that
on?
bitch on?"
It's like, yeah, that she said we can die. It's like, you don't believe me? It's like, oh, well, kill me then. And then she just fucking stabs him through the heart with this fucking arm blade that she just fucking digitally brings up. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. That's kind of the first introduction to it, and then so you kind of get he semi joins up with them to see kind of what they're about. And then, basically they do their daily fight against Angel almost, every day.
Yeah, well, he was kind of ambivalent to join because he thought the whole thing was just silly. He didn't really understand the situation.
And I think that goes with it. Like, he doesn't have any memories. He doesn't really understand. So he's kind of just going with the flow of things.
Yeah, he's literally dropped into this world not having any memories, not knowing what's going on. So he's like, why would I join your mercenary group essentially for not knowing anything? I'm at least going to go try and talk to her. And then he gets shown that you can't die.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think, because then because it's kind of like that's kind of like it's a little, I would say it's kind of a little generic in a way, because like they have their plan to get the meal tickets from the students, because you find out that they're in like a high school as well with like students that they can't really interact with, and they call them NPCs.
Yeah,
and essentially knowing that they're NPCs, if they go to school normally, they will become one, and that's kind of like the overall tone of that part, which is kind of why they act out.
Yeah, so the point is not to conform to what they expect of you, because then you'll get what they call obliterated, which is pretty much disappearing.
Yeah, and they think that's Angel's main purpose. Like, God make Angel to obliterate them, to get them out of the world.
Which is kind of right.
Yeah, in a way.
Wink, wink.
In a way, yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool how they go through getting these meal tickets too. They put on a giant rock show with this like K-pop girl band and
like Girls Dead Monster. What a name.
Yeah. And it's actually pretty good animation, pretty good, music. I mean, nothing I'd listen to on my own, but
Well,
it was
not telling people.
Overall, though, I feel like episode 1 was a good introduction to the series.
Yeah. Because you get that, and then you get, because I would say probably after that, it is pretty much like, that's the main point. And then they also, they have like breaks of like comedic things in it. As, they have that. They have the one where they go to the guild, which, basically are people that create the weapons for them.
Yeah, the guild was introduced actually in the second episode.
Yeah, and that's kind of like how they flow with things until you get to like a main storyline. So they pretty much world build with that story.
Yeah, because Otonashi was like, okay, we're in this like purgatory. How do you have weapons?
Yeah.
And then the guild is Yuri talks about,
You obviously have an underground fucking factory making this shit because that makes sense.
Out of dirt. Don't forget that part.
Yuri explains that there's what they call the guild, which is underground. It's essentially like a secret factory that other people make weapons for them.
Yeah, and they have traps that defend against Angel.
Yeah, and the second episode added more of the comedic relief into it.
Yeah, of like everyone sacrificed themselves of like each step.
Yeah,
oh no, actually they just died in the traps rather.
Yeah, while they go down to the guild, Yuri explains like, okay, they have traps set up just in case Angel meets us down here or is like trying to come down there. And then, they find out that the traps were not deactivated, they're activated. Yeah. So Angel's down in the guild, and I think it was 9 of them that went to go to the guild and talk to the leader. They're all just getting fucking quote unquote killed.
Yeah, and
left and right.
Making fun of Otonashi because he's the new one. They're like, oh, you're going first, and then like he ends up making it through with Yuri.
Yeah, so and it was funny. It was funny how they got separated.
They do that. They build kind of like their like action type thing, and they have a little bit of comedy because like they're like upset about the deaths, even though they can die and come back. And then you kind of start to get your first, I guess, like taste of drama because he gets a chance to be alone with Yuri and then hear about her backstory and essentially why she is the leader of the group. And so you get her tragic backstory of basically she was babysitting it was 3 siblings, right?
Yeah.
Her 3 siblings, which are her 2 sisters and a brother. And then she, babysitting them, and then these guys broke into her house. And that led to, they didn't have any money in the house, and they told her, every 10 minutes, I'm going to kill one of your siblings until you find the valuables that your parents say to give to robbers. And then,
because parents do that.
Yeah, and then basically it's got this
if your parents don't do that, it's because they don't love you.
Yeah, way to not put out a decoy, mom and dad, so we don't get murdered when we get robbed.
Yeah, just give us the stash, let us know where it is, because we'll be responsible and only give to people threatening our lives.
Yeah, of course. It's not like it wouldn't be, somewhere where the kids couldn't access, whatever. And so that, that kind of sets the tone of like, holy shit, like, people here have some tragic backstories.
Well, and I was going to say that kind of, it brings up a good point in the story because it shows why they're fighting against God or whatever is putting them through this purgatory, and it kind of shows that it doesn't explain it right away, but as the series goes on, it started with Yuri, and then you find out more backstories to each character. And
Yuri does have a thing that she says that it is kind of important if you think about it later, because she goes that she can't accept the unfairness of life that she was given by God.
Well, that's what I was going to...
She's on the point, where she doesn't believe in the existence of him.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about, but you cut me off. Just saying. And then it brings up that the other characters...
That's fine.
The other characters, they kind of explain, and then you keep doing it.
I'm fine.
No, go ahead.
Oh, shit. Also, let's just say Yuri does not find anything within 30 minutes if that kind of finishes off that situation that was brought up earlier.
Yeah.
All their siblings were killed.
But
Continue, John.
It brings up the point that most of the characters in there, it explains and shows throughout more of the series that they didn't have fair lives and they're all tragic, and that's kind of why they're in this purgatory, is to try and find a sense of like acceptance. But it's not explained right away. But starting with Yuri, that kind of leads it off into learning everybody's backstories, and Yuri brings up that point that she doesn't believe in the God or anything like that, and that's why they're fighting back, because her life was so unfair, and she's trying to make justice of it while she's in this purgatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the second example is from Masumi.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's a heartbreaker also. So yeah, hers was her parents always would never get along, and she just isolated, and she liked music because she can be creative with her thoughts, and what she wanted to do.
Yeah, to
So,
give a little backstory on that too, just before like you continue, is that she's part of
interrupting
the.
everyone today.
You're gonna have to live with it, or else this place is going nowhere. That she's part of the distraction team, so like you have the actual battlefront, which is the ones that basically fight Angel, and then you also have like the distraction team, which Masumi is on. And then you can continue, Doug.
Yeah, so she ends up finding a guitar, and she's the lead singer and guitar player in this that cafe the band that they
for the meal
use to
tickets.
for the meal tickets. So all she wanted to do was make music and kind of be free from the corner she's been stuck in as a child, and I can't remember exactly how she died though.
She gets like she got a blow
she gets,
from her parents' fight to her head.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the domestic fights.
Yeah.
So very, very sad childhood, and she kind of just wipes it off like, yeah, it's nothing compared to Yuri's.
Yeah, and then she loses her voice too. So kind of like that whole thing, basically, of like the thing that helped her find solace was taking away from her, basically just trying to get her parents to stop fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the name of that episode actually was
Is My Song?
Yeah, My Song, episode 3. So one thing also I noticed,
which is I think is what the song's called as well, by the way.
Yeah. So before she departures, she was the first character to departure into the actual afterlife.
Yeah.
She picks up the acoustic guitar that reminded her of the one she had, her first guitar ever, and she sings her newest song. And with the newest song, she kind of comes to terms and acceptance of her past life, and what is that? It's not necessarily all unfair, and she's actually been doing what she wanted to do in this purgatory.
Yeah, and I think the way they do that too is so like with the distraction team, she plays like this like pop, like basically like pop rock music to distract all the students, but she creates that song which is a ballad, which is like essentially her feelings into music, how she wants to play music and like get it across, which is what Sean's saying is like how it shows that it's important that she essentially got to let it all out on stage.
Yeah. So she was able to confront the reason she was there and kind of accept it, and that's when she got, as they call, obliterated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she just, and being obliterated is kind of just like, you see her, they kind of change where the camera goes, and then she's just gone.
Disappear. Yeah, like the body's just gone. They like cut back to it.
And I think that was a point also to show that like they called it obliteration or whatever, but Yuri wasn't seeing it as
a positive
thing. A positive thing, and like it's actually not a negative thing because she was happy when she passed on, is what they say.
And then with her basically disappearance of like moving forward, that sets the tone for that's actually the goal of the whole series. Like you want to move forward and accept your past so you can move on from that. Because I think they have like an underlying tone too, is that like because they have like Buddhism in Japan as well, is that they're getting reborn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do they say they're getting reborn into? They're like a
water flea. It was a water flea.
Yeah, the water flea.
Yeah. You guys want to be water fleas?
Because they like tap at that of like that's what's gonna happen to them.
Yeah.
Not that they can like have a good life again.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
So that's when so I guess after she gets obliterated, they need a new distraction for the students, so they bring in a new character into the scene, and that's when we get Yui.
Yeah, that is Yui.
That is the very bubbly. How could we describe her? The very bubbly,
typical pink hair anime fangirl of.
I was about to say I was about to say essentially like an anime weeb girl from real life.
Yeah, but for J-pop.
Yeah, but from anime.
Yeah. What does that make us?
Well, we're weebs, but we're just white men.
I'm just saying,
Don't
dude.
talk
like,
about me like that.
I'm just
You
saying,
are.
like the colored hair, like the cattail theme, like the whole bubbly, like simping over the band and shit. Like it throws that kind of vibe out there. Like that's how she is. You know what I mean?
Two-
That's why I described it as that.
I just want to bring up 2 out of the 3 of us have like anime sleeves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with
I
being
just
a
want
weeb or
Doug to
anything.
accept it.
The thing
It's
I
actually
was
his
saying,
intervention.
the thing I was saying about her though,
Stop
like
hitting me with facts, bud.
the whole weeb girl thing is like that's something you
Mhm.
totally see, like a
Yeah.
girl cosplaying. Like she almost looks like a cat. She has like the colored
Yeah.
pink hair, the tail.
Oh, she's got like
like,
a demon tail too, which is I always thought was weird.
like simping over the
Yeah.
fucking band and shit. Like it's just a totally like weeb girl
Uh-huh.
kind of fucking overboard vibe you get from her.
Yeah, and then
They don't get from any other character.
trying to think, because I think there's like a part to where doesn't Otonashi realize like something about his past? Because
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Otonashi. It was fucking Hinata.
Oh yeah, about the baseball thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and then
it
that's
was when he looked up at the sun. That's when he
right.
had the flashback.
That's right, and that's when he kind of figures out that it was like that if he catches the ball, would he have disappeared?
Talk about how we even get to this sequence.
Yeah,
Every time before this, when they're trying to battle Angel,
Mhm.
they're just shooting at her with
Yeah.
these guns. And then now they're playing her in baseball.
Yeah. I think that's like one of those anime trope things to where they're like they didn't have a beach episode, but they're gonna have a sports thing.
Yeah. So we're just going to play you in baseball. And if we win, then.
Well, I think part of that was like it was supposed to be like a disruption thing because they were like, well, we can't fucking shoot her, so we could make her life worse. But
Yeah, because the guild had just gotten blown up
Yeah.
and shit in the previous episode, so they had to find another way to distract her.
yeah, because they were running out of weapons and stuff like that.
And then it kind of tied into Hinata's backstory that way through baseball.
that's
So
right.
it kind of it tied together.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
right.
Hinata is
Yeah.
pretty much Otonashi's like BFF throughout this thing.
Are you that way?
They're
Yeah, are you that way?
I love
they're just BFFs.
Yeah, that's my
They
favorite
got
dynamic.
They're bros.
he's like
The-
he's like
the
laying on the
Joker-
ground in blood, and he's like, "You ran to me first," and he's like, "Are you that way?"
Yeah, are you that way? It's essentially the Joker and Ryuji of Angel Beats.
Great.
Yeah, there are a couple of semi-homophobic statements between those two.
Yeah.
Mainly Ryuji. Joker doesn't talk, and it's not really like homophobic. It's just like, well, no way, I'm not that way.
Not
So-
Persona. I'm talking about this with Hinata and Otonashi, because he's always like,
Yeah.
Hinata's always like, I'm really glad you're here.
Yeah, it's like
I'm-
that, like like platonic flirtation almost.
Yeah, he's like, you sure you don't like dudes?
Yeah.
I think that was before they realized also that they were like really good. That was before they became like really good friends. That's why they kept saying that to each other.
Well, I think that's
Before
like
they were
where it's at
buds.
that point, to where he like realizes that he doesn't want him to disappear because he was basically like the one that made him feel welcomed.
Yeah,
Like to it.
yeah. The baseball was essentially just Hinata having flashbacks and showing his previous life, and it kind of tied into.
It does
his
help
past.
with later too when you think about it, because like when like they get involved in the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a big part of it.
And actually, Hinata was about to catch the pop fly, which was like the throwback to his flashback.
Yeah.
And then what's her name? Fucking Yui comes and just like
tackles him because she's like, "You're open."
Yeah. And one theme throughout the series, it's an underlying theme throughout the series too, is that like Hinata and Yui have a thing for each other.
Yeah, they're like
so they're constantly bickering and like fighting each other and shit like that.
Yeah, the typical anime thing, like they're fucking beating up on each other, and you're like, oh, but y'all like each other, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
It's in love.
Trying to think
Even
like
though they're dead.
I'm trying to think what it rolls into after that.
Well, I mean, Angel's team wins, so they lose to him, and then after that, I think after that is actually
that gets to you, right?
I think that's when they get into reprogramming or at least learning about Angel's programming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
like,
When they
the
bring
next
in
the next episode was when they're taking the exams, I'm pretty sure, and that's when they're trying to make Angel look bad by like
yeah, they're trying to
cheating on her test.
get her taken down from the presidency and stuff like that. So, like I said, they have to come up with new plans to do that. And, stuff
Yeah,
like that. Because they
yeah.
lost the baseball game because, Yui stops Hinata from catching the ball. So they lose that game. So nothing happens. And then they roll into that to where they're like, all right, we're going to sabotage her shit with, her exams.
Her grade scores, and
Yeah.
we didn't say this, but Angel's the student body president
Yeah.
of this school.
we alluded to it earlier, but
Yeah.
we didn't outright say
Yeah, I
it.
don't think we said it. Yeah, that's kind of like how it is. Because like I said, it's a high school and then that's her role in it. And so she's in charge of keeping all the students in line. And they're kind of the rebels of it.
It's a weird like way to think of purgatory as high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very anime.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of figure out later too of like why it is.
Yeah.
Because like, they're all young and stuff like that, so it's kind of a good setting for it.
Yeah, and you notice it throughout the series too. Everybody in this purgatory is a teenager.
Yeah.
Every single person.
Yeah.
Even the NPCs, except for like the teachers.
The teachers, yeah.
But so Angel's the student body president, and they're trying to get her dethroned from that. And it's the testing period, so Yuri pulls them all together and is like, "Yo, we gotta try and sit next to Angel and make her grades low, like just flunk her tests for her, essentially."
That's right. And this is, I thought this episode
kind of
was pretty
with
funny.
The comedic break too. Again.
Yeah.
And this is probably like one of my favorite episodes for that too.
Yeah. So is it just they'll have someone sit near her and swap out papers while someone else in the group in the classroom creates a distraction to make her look away. And what they end up doing is like adding like
rocket
boosters to these desks and just launching people into the ceiling.
Yeah, basically she's like, if you fail the distraction, I'm launching you into the ceiling.
Yeah. So I think Hinata ends up getting launched into the ceiling like 4 or 5 times.
I think he has like twice. He's like, why am I the only one that got it twice? And he's like, because the other one had to like, I think Oyama has to confess his feelings to her.
Yeah, he goes and asks her out, and
she's like, oh, he has emotional trauma.
Yeah, and then he still gets launched into the ceiling.
Yeah.
The guy with the glasses got launched into the ceiling also, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's because he took off his shirt.
Yeah, he was fucking shot. But that whole, I think that was like the 5th or 6th episode, but it was funny as shit. I'm not gonna lie, I was laughing like mostly through it.
Yeah. Yeah, and, so they're kind of like, because like I said, they have episodes like this which kind of break up the like main storyline of it. And it's kind of, I mean, it's actually kind of impressive that they do that because there's only 13 episodes. And
the end of this episode. Go ahead, Doug. Sorry.
No, you're good. I actually interrupted you, so apologies, my friend.
I don't take mine back.
Yeah, we know, Tyler.
The ending of the episode, though, actually throughout the episode, you notice Otonashi kind of like peeping over at Angel and like thinking about her, like. She seems normal and like this normal girl and a normal student. Like, why are we doing all these horrible things? And he tries to just talk to her as a normal person. And he kind of starts, catching feelings a little bit for her. You kind of
have to realize too, like that. I think one of the parts too. So with the testing thing, they were like, that we're going to swap out the test, and they're like, we don't know her name.
Yeah,
and so he talks to her, and that's that goes with Sean's point. Of this is kind of where you start to learn that she's human in a way, but they don't directly say that, but like she has human like qualities. So Tanashi's kind of like, I don't really get this.
Yeah. She's not really. We're all just gonna interrupt each other.
We're fine.
Fuck it. It's a free for all of talking.
It's on Discord. I can't see your lips. Like, damn.
I was gonna say, I mean, she's pretty much acting like a human. You would think the enemy would be aggressive towards, your protagonist. And each time they've talked, it's just been talking.
Yeah, been
I mean,
nice.
even when she first met her, he's like, "Can we really just die?"
Yeah.
And then she's like, "You want?
Yeah.
Like, I'll show you." And then kills him. And pretty much, it's him asking her to do that.
Yeah.
She was never really aggressive. She was just doing kind of what he asked because it didn't really matter in the end.
Yeah, and then the end of this episode, he goes to talk to her again, and he was kind of asking about her, like, why are you attacking us? And she had to explain to him, like, you asked me to prove to you that you couldn't die, so that's why I did that. I didn't just outright attack you. And then I forgot exactly what happened, but don't they like eat together at the end of the episode?
Okay, so what happens after that? So the testing thing goes through, they succeed, right? And then then she gets replaced by it's Naui is the he was the vice president, so he gets to stand in, right? So then they hold another Operation Tornado, which is what gets them the meal tickets for I think it's like beef udon.
Yeah, it is beef udon.
And so they do that, and then they're like all ready for Angel again, and then I think she's like really like complacent, so she kind of just walks into the like cafeteria for that while it's going on, and they're like she's not doing anything, and so they don't attack her, and that's where
she was just sitting at the table, right?
Yeah, and that's where like it gets blown away, like her ticket gets blown away, and then Unanashi ends up getting that ticket for the tofu.
Yeah, and then they end up sitting down and eating a little bit, and she explains that she never really sat down or had friends to eat with or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And said that that anybody that potentially could get close to her would essentially disappear.
Yeah, and then that goes after, of course, too. You have like Naui enforcing all the rules like harshly, and they're like, "Oh God, we made it worse," and stuff like that. And then that's kind of where he does his thing with Angel, which I mean, like, I keep calling her Angel. I don't really feel like doing her whole name.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. I mean, kind of may, but yeah, does that kind of release it? Basically everyone that's gotten close has basically disappeared because they've lived a normal life and then been obliterated. Essentially, that's kind of what it leads to. Yeah,
and the episode after that,
Sorry,
the
guys,
first. The first episode of, or not the first episode, the first scene of the next episode shows them coming out of like the imprisonment that Naui sets up for students who disobey.
Well, the food thing it's that same episode. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, whoops!
Yeah,
I fucked that one up.
I mean, like that one's kind of like a weird blending of that because like they get done with the test and essentially they're in like that prison cell, and even I was like, I had to rewind it and go, did I fucking skip an episode by accident? And so basically I'm trying to think, because then
during that episode,
because he locks them up separately because he asks her to eat, and then he puts him in like a cell together.
Yeah,
and then that's where it goes, like where essentially now he's like slaughtering all the battlefront.
Yeah, it shows that, or Yuri finds out that Naui is abusing all the students,
the NPCs,
like even so she's like, we got to do some shit about this.
Yeah.
And while Angel and what's his name Otonashi are locked up, they kind of talk a little, or Yuri says to him over the walkie-talkie, like, hey, try and get Angel to be on our side and fight with us for now because we need to get her back in that student president role. So the abuse and the all the crazy shit isn't going on anymore, and that
Yeah, and this is where you get Naui's tragic backstory of his, which is essentially, I guess, like they always kind of competed with each other, and then they do like basically a flashback to the scene of them going for, I think it's like a Japanese plum.
Yeah, it was a plum on the tree.
Yeah, and then like he gets it, and the other one kind of like falls off, but it's like it's a short distance, and then it goes to another one to where like his brother died from falling out of a tree.
Yeah, and,
they need shock value.
Yeah, and that goes to his whole thing of like now he has this thing of the reason he's like this is because he feels like he died that day and that his brother lived on, and so like he took over his like pottery thing. So I guess his brother's really skilled in pottery because his family has like a long history of that, and that goes to the whole thing of like everything he did was he had to like work really hard for, and never got the recognition from his father, and even when he would win, he'd like win the awards, and then his dad was like, "Don't, that's embarrassing," basically.
Yeah, his dad would break his pottery that he would make when he was training, and like you said, now he never got the recognition or acceptance from his family or peers, or mainly his dad. Because like you said, he got awards, and it brings it all full circle at the end of the episode because now he can actually hypnotize people.
Yeah.
And when he's about to hypnotize, I think it's Hinata, like Otonashi stops him. Is like, dude, like, chill. I'm here and I accept you and I recognize your hard work and everything you
he's like,
had to do and go through in your past
brother,
life.
It was you. Like everything that you think your brother did, you did.
Yeah.
And then now
he pretty much pulled a reverse card on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now he had a full-on emotional breakdown, and then essentially, like, said, like, hey, Otonashi, like, I'm gonna help you out from now on.
And there are certain instances too of like to where people accept their lives as they were, and that's kind of Naoi's point too, to make it seem like not everyone just disappears right away because they have different purposes. And so Naoi's thing is like, he has the hypnotism, he's gonna help later down the line that you find out. And that's kind of why he doesn't disappear, because he accepted his life. He takes Otonashi as like, you saved me from the darkness that I was in.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
I try.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of rolls into then he gets his memories back because Yuri has Naoi like hypnotize him to get Otonashi's memories, which fuck.
Yeah, now he hypnotizes Otonashi to help him regain his memories.
Does he get all his memories back? I think he only gets...
No, it's split
it's the
into halves.
beginning. Yeah.
He gets the beginning of his memories back.
Yeah.
And it's pretty rough. I mean, it's a sweet story. So pretty much Otonashi had a sister who was sick, and she was hospital and bedridden.
Yeah.
Fuck. He I think he started working construction.
Yeah.
And
like scraping by.
Yeah, and he just didn't really care about anything except his sister.
Yeah, he's like purposeless in life because, he basically just does it to survive and doesn't really know why he does anything.
Yeah, he just does it, and he always just see his sister, and that's kind of when you got some humanity out of him. Because when he's at work, he just doesn't give a shit, Like most of us, we just don't give a shit when we're at work.
He literally says that he was just like making enough money to get by, and that's all he cared about because he wasn't good in school.
Yeah, like he says to her like that he's stupid, and it goes along that whole line of like
I didn't really get that. I think he just thought
just
it was
how
more
he feels,
pointless.
like how he feels too, because he says that he's like I'm too stupid for stuff like that, and then she's like oh, studying sounds fun. He's like it's not fun. Stuff like that. Just like the typical, like, I don't know, like teenage dread type thing, almost. Existential shit.
Yeah, and pretty much it all just goes to he was taking life, for granted.
Yeah, and they, of course, then they do that nice scene of like, he wants to do something for her. He starts working harder because he's got a goal, and he wants to take her, to see the lights, like during Christmas time. And, he doesn't get approval to take her out of the hospital. He sneaks her out of the hospital, takes her to it, and then she ends up dying.
Yep, that's how that went.
And that's then he gets his like goal of he's like basically reinvigorated with that. Is like he finds out that the whole purpose in life was his sister. He's like, I'm just sad that I didn't get to appreciate it. Like that's what made me stay alive.
Yeah, and he didn't realize that until his sister was dead, that was essentially his purpose.
Yeah, and that's, that makes him go to medical school, do that, and that's where it shows the point of him being on a train and to where it crashes. I guess it's during an earthquake, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And, so this train crashes, and then that's kind of where it, like, cuts off, if I remember right.
Yeah, because he realized like what he wanted to do was help people.
Yeah.
So he was going to take his medical entrance
Yeah.
exam, and on the way there, the earthquake happened, and the train collapsed
Yeah.
from the tracks,
Yeah,
and
both
then
sides.
it just blacks out completely. You don't see anything after that.
Mhm.
So
And I think that's because that's then they go like fishing, don't they? Which is like it's like a weird break.
well, let's not jump too far ahead because
It's
I
not that
think
far ahead.
we're really glazing over how heavy a scene that was.
Yeah, I mean, well, I said fuck a lot.
You did say fuck a lot, and you know what?
That's how I feel.
I got the sense that you said fuck a lot,
Fuck.
and I appreciate that.
Once Otonashi woke up from what he did remember, he was
Yeah.
like emotionally fucking destroyed.
Well, I do feel like part of that too is to kind of go with that. So they do, you know how like Sean said that it's split into two.
Yeah.
Is that the second one? I feel like definitely has more of the weight with it, you know, because like you know how Sean says like he was
I
like
think
broken from it when he realized like that's what happened, but you don't really get the whole like scale of it and like what actually happened till that other episode.
Well, I just thought the whole
Mhm.
like that he was really trying to be
Yeah,
a better person for his sister and
Mhm.
really went
Yeah.
that extra
Yeah, true.
length to make her happy.
yeah.
And then
It definitely just gets multiplied later too. So
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
but
and then
I-
the inevitable that she was gonna pass, but I don't know. That was a heavy
Sure.
weight for me,
it,
and
it
I think it
was
was
no
pretty-
like that episode was actually like it made me pretty goddamn sad. I was
Yeah.
just like, holy fuck, dude.
I would say that is like the one that kind of turns it up the most.
For sure, because that's
Comparatively.
essentially your halfway point in the series as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
yeah. But anyways, we were talking about fishing.
Yeah, fucking fishing. You know how it is.
You should.
So you know she's not the president as of now, right? So they're like, you know, we're not gonna be able to pull off another Operation Tornado out here, you know. And so they're basically because like you know because the teachers like act up and like storm the stage. Remember that part with her, like Misumi?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the whole logic behind that. So I guess they're like, yo, we're gonna go fishing. We're gonna go get this fucking master of the stream, which is apparently a gigantic ass fish. And then Ononashi's like, yo, Angel, you want to come? And he's like, not a president anymore. Fucking break some rules. Fucking let's get high. Did
Let's
that
get
happen?
high. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, did that happen?
No,
Or did I just black out?
I think you just blacked out.
Okay. Yeah, so they pretty much do that, go fishing. You know, you have your little typical fishing montage, and then they're like, yeah, this girl could probably reel in that big ass fish, and then she do, and they're
she
all
do.
launched into the air, and it's gonna eat them all. So she turns on sicko mode, Travis Scott,
Yeah.
and then
God.
Big bets. Yep.
yeah, you like my summary of all this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then-
just
It's
pretty much
good.
splits her in half, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna share the fish because we're not gonna be able to preserve this. So let's share it with all the students, and then they do.
And then the most important scene of the entire series
Say
is
this is a whale-sized fish.
Yeah, it's gigantic.
the most important like scene of the series is where TK is prepping the fish and you just hear him chop, 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 chop,
Yeah,
chop.
chop, chop, chop.
Oh, best scene of the whole show.
Fucking honestly saves
Other
it.
than Kiss Me.
Saves the entire thing. I
But
also
then
like,
at the end,
I also like the
Yeah.
one where he's like, "I'll be back," and then he dives out the
yeah,
window.
when he falls out the window.
Fucking hilarious.
Actually, my favorite TK scene is gather everyone up and he's just fucking dancing.
Oh yeah,
And then just.
So actually, at the end of this episode, though,
That's
while
pretty-
they're
that part's
serving
important.
while they're serving the fish,
Yeah,
you know, Angel actually like promises to Otonashi
yeah, they're like vibing.
that she promises to him that she'll fight with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're
And
vibing.
then they're walking back to the school, and Yuri comes up and is like all wounded and fucked up, and they're like, "What is going on?" And then they look up to the top of the school, and it looks exactly like Angel, who has like glaring red eyes.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's like, you know, it's like, hey, that one's evil. Red eyes,
Yeah,
evil.
And
Like,
they're-
wait, Angel's there,
Yeah.
but also.
She's
Angel's
there. Yeah, she's there. Yeah,
and she has red eyes up there. It's like, what's
Dude.
going on?
dude, that's not her.
Dude.
Like
Holy
they do.
shit, dude.
What's sad too is like they actually do kind of have that moment. You're
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, it's a different one.
And also, where was Yuri? I mean, wouldn't they all be together as a group doing this whole like cutting up and cooking? I mean, she
Yeah, I
must have
think
been
that
gone for a
I
while,
think that was
and
supposed to be
then
that
she just,
thing, and then she like split off because she's like, "Fuck Angel, I
oh
ain't hanging out
yeah,
with that bitch."
that thing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
gotcha. That makes
that's
sense.
kind of like how they do it, I guess. I'm like, because like I thought the
Yeah.
same thing. I'm like, why wouldn't she still be there, but just not hanging out with her directly?
Right, right.
But
No, it's TV logic.
yeah,
I get it.
and then because they like don't they like fight each other, and then they both the angels stab each other, right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
beginning of the next episode.
yeah,
I thought it was cool because I thought it
hmm
was like maybe like her
hmm
bad side got extracted from her
yeah,
somehow,
hmm
and I thought it was supposed to be the same
yeah,
person, but it turns out can just clone,
yeah,
just
and
clone.
yeah, kind of. I'm trying to think if like how much they really reveal on that too. Because I guess like
Yeah,
the way they explain it is essentially that she like turned on her battle mode to save them from that fish, and what happened is that she split, and then like her programming the way it was allowed that clone to continue in like her normal battle mode, and then like left her in her like normal nice shy girl mode.
yeah. I didn't really pick up on that. I kind of
It's like
just
a weird
saw it as
explanation
she's here
of it.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
now we have two angels,
Yeah.
and I'm not
Yeah.
complaining.
So once they stab each other, they're trying to come up with a plan to take out this other angel. And then Yuri actually remembers that Angel has this ability,
Yeah, harmonics.
yeah, harmonics, that allows her to clone herself.
Yeah, so I think
So,
like I think Yuri, if I remember right, she's trying to like figure out like how to fix it, and then that's when you get your cool fucking scenes of like they're like, hey, go to class, but like do whatever you want, but don't be too disruptive, and that's where you get the TK fucking arm noodle dance
my favorite scene.
and shit.
But I think Yuri came up with a plan like to go into her computer in her
Yeah.
room and like reverse the programming
hmm
so that it would essentially bring in all the clones of
Yeah, after
her
like
back
10
into
seconds.
her. Yeah. And then it goes from 0 to 100 really fucking quick. There's like 100 clones everywhere. They're trying to fucking fight them all. They end up back in the guild because I guess that's where the original angel is.
Uh-huh.
And there's multiple clones of Angel down there waiting, like to fight everybody as
Yeah.
they're going to try and save her.
Yeah. And
Everybody sacrifices themselves in order for Yuri and Otonashi to get
Yeah.
to the final Angel.
because essentially because like I don't know if you said it, but to where like they figure out Angel goes missing, so they're like, oh, they must have her down there.
Yeah, she was in the guild.
Yeah.
And then everybody sacrifices themselves to the other angels in order for Yuri and Otonashi to get down there. And they reversed it. They actually ended up getting in her programming and reversing the harmonics.
Yeah.
So that if she used it again, all of the other clones would be essentially brought back into her.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that. So then of course that puts the point to where the clones basically like, how do you think she's gonna react when all of us go back inside of her at once?
Yeah, because it's multiple personalities being brought back into one body, and then that's when they're like, "Oh shit, which personality is going to be the one, actually speaking through her body and take over?" So they end up getting Angel to use harmonics. They find her, and they realize that this is super dangerous because Angel's like on the verge of dying.
Yeah. And that rolls into the next episode pretty much, where you get the rest of Otonashi's backstory. Because he falls asleep on top of her, like in the hospital, like the infirmary bed.
Yeah, Angel's sleeping, and Otonashi lays his head on her and falls asleep.
Fuck. Which is important later.
Yeah, and that's when the second part of Otonashi's backstory rolls in.
Fuck. Pour one out.
Yeah, it was a rough one.
Yeah, to pretty much go on that, they start showing this this whole crash of like he survives, and like another guy, and he helps like find all the survivors in the train, and like gets all the supplies, and it shows their like essentially their struggle to survive trapped in the subway tunnel because it has caved in on both sides,
and Otonashi essentially takes the lead and is like trying to help everybody, organizes a plan, and of
helps
course
all the injuries, stuff like that. So they clearly gravitate to him for that.
And Otonashi's injured all of this at the same time, so and he's like, "Don't worry about it." But Otonashi's essentially killing himself to try and save everybody else day by day.
Yeah, and of course it only gets worse too because they're like, I forget how. I think they said they had enough for like
3 days.
3 days.
3 days, yeah, 3 days of like supply of like water left or something like that.
Water and snacks.
And they were like, yeah, well, sure they'll come back by then, right? And then this one dickweed decides to fucking steal the water, even though, yet again, both of the sides are closed off. Where's he gonna go?
Gonna go drink it by himself in the corner.
Yeah, so of course, some motherfucker spills an entire bottle, and then, Otonashi's, fucking cool Chad Otonashi's like, yo, you know what? That was my share. It's fine.
I don't need to drink at all.
Then his fucking, bro for life train guy's like, I'll share my thing with you.
Yeah, it's like, I'll split mine halfway with you.
And then I'm trying to remember the amount of days that it is. I always forget how much it is.
Well, before, I think after he tried to run away, there was one guy with a head injury who ended up passing, and that really fucked Otonashi up.
Yeah, because like he basically like dies in his sleep. I would assume from like a seizure, and he's like trying to do CPR and bring him back, and there's like you can hear like the cracking of the ribs and shit, and he's like dog, it's okay, like you can't save everyone, type shit. And so that's important with that too, of like all that thing. And then how many? I forget how many days it is. It's like a lot though, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
It's like. Nah,
I want to say it was 10 days or something like that.
Yeah.
It was more than 3.
And then while that happens, though, Otonashi is dying because he was injured already.
Yeah. And
they've run out of supplies. They're all dying. Otonashi's too weak to tend to everybody's wounds.
Yeah. And essentially laying on the ground, just basically waiting.
And before Otonashi passes, he decides to fill out his health insurance card to make it so he's a organ donor.
Yep.
So even in his last dying breath, he's like, I'm going to help other people.
Yeah, and that kind of, with that act, that he's like, because like the guy who shares his water with him, at the point they're all just, lying on the ground, not moving, like just waiting for hope to come, like hope and help to come. Then in that last moment, he does that. He's like, he signs his organ donor card, and then everyone else is inspired by that, and they also join in because they're like, even if you die, your organs will help someone else, so your life will live on, and like all of them are inspired by that.
And everybody starts filling out their health insurance cards, and then right after they all do that, Otonashi's clearly passing away. Yeah. And you see light come into this tunnel that was caved in on both sides. They're finally about to get rescued, and Otonashi dies before he can get rescued.
Like break through, like right as he dies, essentially.
It's like in The Fog, or what was it, The Fog or The Mist, where he ends up killing his family before help shows up.
Yeah,
kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, like like of course. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen that picture of like to where it's like someone digging for gold and they stop like right before they get it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like stuff like that is like, like stuff to think about.
And that shows the true nature of Otonashi's last dying breaths, and it shows that his life didn't go in vain. And he just died in the crash. He died helping other people and made a decision right before his death that he wanted to help still.
Yeah.
And it helps him in this purgatory because he's like, now I know, like, I remember fully how I died, and, I'm happy with what I did.
And that's kind of where you get to the point to where, Onashi's like, I don't have a life full of regret, so, like, why am I still here? And that kind of starts the new goal of he's going to help these people move on because he's got a fulfilled life, and he wants everyone else to feel like that.
Because he's a sweet boy.
Yeah, damn sure.
And that ties into the next episode where fucking Hinata and
Yui.
Naui, what's his name? Naui.
Now he's the vice president.
Yeah, Naui and Hinata are both like, yo, we know what you're trying to do.
Yeah, because he enlist Hinata to help with, and then of course Naui finds out because he's basically all knowing type shit.
Actually, they both find out because they're both waiting to talk to him about the same thing. They're just hiding behind like different posts.
Yeah, that's right.
I could be wrong, but I think he tries with Yui before he ends up working. Because I know Hinata comes in at the end of helping.
Yeah, because at the beginning he's doing stuff with Yui, and she's like, "Oh, like what are all your goals?" And she's like, tell him like all this big stuff because like it's like the wrestling, the fucking home run, the soccer thing. And then of course he enlists other people to help.
Oh well, my bad.
Then Hinata figures that stuff out of like, you're trying to do something.
I completely forgot that he went to Angel first and was like, "This is what we're going to do now."
Yeah, of like just keep attacking and then we'll do this shit.
So they decide Yui's the first one they're going to help. They come up with a little plan.
I figured she'd be the easiest.
Yeah. So they come up with a plan, and then after, I'm not going to go through the whole plan. But afterwards, they get to talking to her, and you find out like Yui's tragic backstory, how she was bedridden and she couldn't do anything her entire life. And because of that, what she wants to do to help her go is like all these physical activities. Like she wants to.
It's all watching TV.
Yeah, like that's how she kind of lived her life, was just watching the TV screen and having like all these big dreams.
So she wanted to hit a home run. She wanted to play like a soccer game, and she wanted to do like I think they called it a German suplex.
Yeah.
Like a wrestling move.
Yeah, that's the fucking like pull back drop with the bridge thing.
Yeah, and the whole episode is essentially Otonashi, no matter how tired he gets, he's helping her train so she can do all these things and pass on because it's what she truly wants to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's what she says at first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you kind of, then that's where you get led on that, she was handicapped her entire life, and that she felt like almost like a burden to her mom as well, because her mom basically had to work tirelessly every day to take care of her. And that that goes along with it too, because like after they, she's like, oh, like, fuck the home run, because like she couldn't hit one. And it's like, well, is there anything else?
And the one thing she said she wanted because she couldn't do the home run was she always wanted to get married, and that's where
like all
Hinata popped. Yeah, and that's where Hinata popped in, and he was like, I would marry you no matter what. Like, I don't care if you were bedridden. I would help your mom out. I would do this, that, and the third. We would have met this way, and it would have been an amazing life. And it kind of ties their whole bickering and flirting throughout the show together.
One part that I always kind of feel bad about, because, she's like, I laugh at it because she's like, well, would you marry me? And she's like talking to Otonashi, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeesh. Like, fuck no. And I always kind of laugh at that.
Yeah.
And then of course,
I'll say yes.
Hinata's like, he's like, he's like, we would have met. I would have hit a baseball through your window. I would have fucking talked. Your mom, I would have took care of you, so your mom would have got a break. And and then she disappears. So yeah, fuck. That one hurt.
That's Tyler expressing his feelings with fucks again.
That's pretty much it. Like, I get to that point and I just fuck.
It was sad, but it was like it was happy ending for her. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, it really was. You know what I mean? Like,
I was smiling at the end of it.
That's when, like, that's kind of where, like, so to define the fuck as a feeling, it's when you're looking at something and you're sad on the inside, but it's not really coming out, so you just go fuck.
It was a good mix of both. Like, as annoying of a character that Yui was, after hearing her backstory, like she got everything she wanted in that one day. Like, she got somebody to admit that they loved her. She got to do all these things that she always wanted to do in her miserable life, and they turn around and then she's gone.
Yep.
She passed on. She accepted it and moved on. And that's when Hinata afterwards was like, "Yo, I'm going to help you keep doing this."
Yeah.
Also, we should mention, just because this is a TK appreciation episode, the second thing she wanted to do was score a goal against 4 people.
Oh yeah.
TK fucking rocked that ball away from her.
Yeah,
Just saying.
like the man he is.
Yeah. The fucking god
Yeah.
among, I mean, the ant,
They call it the
whatever.
red card. They're like, that's a red
Yeah.
card. He like tackles him.
And then at the end of the episode, though, Noda and Oyama were attacked by a new mysterious creature, and Yusa describes it as a shadow.
Yeah.
So they're on high alert at the very end of this episode.
And this just became a true crime podcast. We're talking about shadows now.
Yeah, shadow monsters. It's actually just the amalgamation of your negative feelings.
Yep.
Yeah, I use that word.
So then it jumps into the next episode, and that's where Hinata and Naoi start competing over being the main helper for Otonashi.
Yeah.
But while they're arguing, they see one of these shadow monsters for themselves. It pops up behind Naoi to attack him, and they start shooting it, and they destroy it, luckily.
This is where you also lose, I think his name's Takamatsu?
Yeah, the glasses guy.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where they figure out that these, the shadows turn them into NPCs. So it's like, this shit is serious.
Yeah.
Super serious.
Yeah. And
so
then of course, unless you want to continue, I was going to say that
no, go ahead.
It kind of goes on to, of course, through this whole thing, they're trying to hide it from Yuri because her whole thing is to rebel against it. And however, she's on to him the entire time, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think what happens next is she she knows what's going on with trying to help people pass on.
Yeah, and that's where she goes to the big group in the gym, right? Where she's like, "Yo, you guys have to make that decision."
Yeah. It's like everyone. I'm cool with it, but everyone make their own decision on what they want to do from here on out. And she pretty much goes rogue.
Yeah, kind of. Like, that's what the computers, right? Because she thinks something's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. So she's on a quest to find out what's going on with these what's going on with the system. She kind of has her little hacker crew kind of try to figure out what's going on. And she figures out the only way this can happen is if someone pretty much altered the programming of the world they're in.
Well,
yeah.
Also,
and I think they say that they're like a game because they're saying it makes a unbeatable monster to end the game.
So one thing also you forgot to mention is she kind of put the realization together though when she was in the computer lab, and one of the guys was in there on the computer.
Yeah, the
teacher. She's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
and
right,
he was like, "I'm replacing the computer. They keep getting stolen."
Yeah, because they're expensive, and she's like, "Oh, it's like endless computers, basically."
But I thought she was already on the. I thought she already knew that someone was reprogramming them, and that's why she went there. She
breaks back in because she goes to the computer lab because that's where all the computers are.
Yeah,
and then she finds out that they're getting stolen, so it must be somewhere else.
Yeah, she thought that guy was the person doing it, but then he told her, was like, "Yo, these computers keep getting stolen, so I have to keep replacing them." So then she stumbles upon.
She's like, very interesting.
Yeah, she breaks back in and stumbles upon that.
The panel or whatever.
Yeah, the hatch door on the floor, and she's like, "Oh shit, not the guild again."
The guild again.
So Yuri kind of makes her way down there to the guild to fucking get to the bottom of things by herself.
Because this is kind of where it splits too, because she's off kind of doing that, and then the rest of them are dealing with these shadow monsters.
And just a side note. Sheena, I think that's how you pronounce your name, is a fucking badass.
Yeah, she is. Little silent ninja girl.
Yeah, other than TK, she was probably my second favorite character, to be honest.
Even though she just hung out in a janitor's closet with toy animals.
Yeah,
but her combat A+.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually liked her character a lot. I thought she was cool.
Yeah, I kind of wish she would have got more.
I agree.
Yeah, so they kind of, then they have their separate thing of you basically get the action back, and you got fucking TK fucking spinning down rails doing these fucking tornado kicks, fucking clearing out the monsters, and they're like, TK! Because he's fucking bossing through crowds.
Oh
And
yeah, dude.
the thing with TK also, we
Knocking
brought it
at
up
the
earlier.
store.
Yeah, he's always referencing like songs or movies or something from like English pop culture. And then while he's killing the shadows, he says that he's like knocking on heaven's door in like full English too. And then they all stop what they're doing and they're like, "That's Bob Dylan. What the fuck?"
Bubba Dylan. Yeah. Also, I don't know if you guys knew this too, but so TK's voice actor is actually fully English, by the way.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which I always
makes
think is
sense.
funny. Yeah. So fucking there's that. I'm trying to think where else where like it goes to because like.
Well, they're all pretty much
much.
just trying to fight off these shadow people,
and then it's
and
more about like Yuri at that point because she finds fucking I forgot his name already again, Takamatsu.
yeah,
He's in the room. Yeah.
Well, and then while she's down in the guild, like it's an endless amount of shadows down there, and she like runs out of ammo and shit. And while
they save her before that. That's right.
Yeah, and above ground, they also notice it's like an endless amount of shadows, and that's where why did I forget her name already? The ninja girl,
Sheena.
Sheena, yeah, she was like, go save Yuri. Like, we'll handle this up here. We're gonna sacrifice ourselves essentially.
Yeah, she's like, do you see TK? He's fucking owning these fucking things.
Yeah, and Sheena's like, go help Yuri down in the guild. Like, we got this. You guys gotta go help her. So, and then it goes on to the point you were just talking about, Tyler, where she finds the computers and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and pretty much, that goes to that to where I guess like he explains like the whole system of it, which I guess like this is always a weird part that I've never understood because like I've watched it more than once. And so they essentially put it like it's almost like a computer program that was programmed by a guy who was there and then lost like fell in love with someone and then they all left and then he got stuck there.
So if I can without interrupting, I'd like to kind of put my perspective in this.
Yeah.
So it seemed like, and this will kind of spoil the end, but it seems like kind of a
I mean, it's important.
Yeah, someone like Otonashi, and that'll be explained later, was in this world, and someone like him created this programming that prevents you to feel love. Because the programming, it doesn't prevent you, but it doesn't, like they were insinuating earlier that final boss in a game, they'll throw a thing.
It doesn't work unless like there's no love. Otherwise, you would stay there forever.
Exactly.
So I think it's what you're getting at.
And the reason,
but the fact that there's love means that they're willing to stay there with each other because they care about each other, and that world is not made for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt also, but didn't he say also that the creator of the program was with somebody, like fell in love with somebody there, and she passed on, and that's why he created that part of it? So nobody else
to get rid of the love. Yeah, like that part. Yeah.
I think they said that in there at least, right?
Yeah, pretty sure. I think that's what they're getting at. Like they said it in like a weird way, but I'm pretty sure that's what they were getting at. Was that there's no love in that system because he fell in love. She disappeared, and it fucked him up. So he made it to where it can't happen.
Yeah, and he stayed there. But other than that, I think you covered all the basis of it, Doug.
Well, he also offered Yuri the opportunity to like be God in this situation because she can just take over this programming and pretty much control whatever.
And just put it all back to normal and like live out her life, forever.
And then she considers it.
Yeah.
Like she's like, "Oh, that would be great." And then she has I don't want to say it's not a flashback, but it's kind of like a sub view. Like she pictures in her mind her talking to her siblings that passed.
Yeah.
And they tell her that she's doing like they don't blame her.
Like you've done enough.
Yeah. Exactly. And the tears will fall. But then she kind of accepts it and she denies being God because that's all she just was driven by the guilt of what happened to her her siblings.
Yeah.
That and she's been fighting against this so-called God the entire time.
Yeah, it doesn't really make
She
sense
doesn't want to
anymore.
become that. Yeah, she doesn't want to become that.
Well,
Yeah.
let's be honest. At this point in the story, everything's kind of like a fucking whirlwind of shit.
Yeah.
Nothing really makes sense other than shit's popping up and the direction of what's going on now. They're like friends with, like, there's just so much that's happened in this point. Pretty much everything. I believe that everything that they thought in the beginning is completely changed.
It gets like flipped upside down.
Because now they're all okay with being, as they call it, obliterated, now passing on. And, Angel's not a threat anymore. Now it's just
Yuri destroyed the
surviving this new
shadows.
enemy.
And I think the only thing that was really preventing anybody from truly like doing the being quote unquote obliterated after they found all this stuff out was the ties they had with Yuri, because they were so loyal and dedicated to her.
Yeah.
But then
like they stayed around to help her move on, because they were like, we can't leave until we know that you've accepted it, essentially. Because she's the leader. She was like, this is her whole goal. So they're like, we're not going to leave our leader behind.
And it's not necessarily saying like they weren't saying it was all Yuri's fault or everything, but while everybody else had come to acceptance and realized that everything was flipped upside down and that being, passing on was okay, they wanted to help Yuri get to that realization before everybody.
Because of course, too,
to do it.
like her circumstances are different too. Like she essentially got her life stolen from her. The other ones just kind of, lost it in like a tragic way. And not like, in like a murder way type thing, And so that kind of gets to the point where, she kind of accepts that fact, and then, they're kind of like making fun of her because like for accepting it. They're like, well, you said you were never gonna accept it. And
and the
like,
last
you're happy, and she's like, well, then why aren't we gone? And she's like, well, they're like, well, you can't leave till we all leave, basically, and we're gonna all leave together.
Yeah, it's that weird complex where they all need everyone else to leave to like be able to leave themselves, because they're so like they kind of insinuated before, there's actual feelings involved. They love each other as like a little family, I think.
And I think the reason they did it that way too is because like Yuri brought them all into the rebellion. Yuri was the person who started it and brought everybody into it.
Yeah,
and
made them friends.
And they just reversed it to where, like, everybody was going and they were going to be there for Yuri to go, because she had brought their group together, and that, they actually got so close and they all had that bond and became essentially a family in this purgatory.
Yep. And then comes the big one. The big one, boys. The graduation day.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Punch me right in the heart balls.
Bro, this one hurts. Every time I think about this one hurts.
And, for real, dude.
So of course they Angel starts kind of showing more of her like basically emotions, because like every bad thing is gone, and she's like they say Yuri's accepted her, stuff like that. They're almost like normal girls, and they kind of allude to that later. Is like, oh, you don't seem like a leader anymore. You seem like a girl, and stuff like that. So Angel wants to have a graduation, so they decide to hold one of like typical one for the last. I think it's 5 of them.
Yeah, it's Naoi, Hinata,
Otonashi,
Yuri,
Angel, and Yuri. Yeah, so 5 of them.
Yeah, so fucking they roll that back of like them graduating and going through the whole process of like basically like getting to live out the like last remaining part of that world. And then it kind of symbolizes them going through that and moving on.
Yeah, and even that was a little kind of emotional. And then finally, after the ceremony,
they leave like, all right, well, basically.
Yeah, they're like, all right, it's time. And then Yuri decides she's the first one that's going to go, and they say their due diligence and thanks and everything.
Fucking
and
later days.
And then Yuri's wasn't as emotional, I don't feel.
Yeah, I kind of expected a little more, like a heavier one for hers.
Compared to the other ones, oh my god.
Yeah, because she like gives like the hug to like Angel, and I'm like, well, it is what it is. It is what it is, because like like the like boy girl fucking attitude and like that side is a little different than ours. Like,
I think hers was a little more subtle
Yeah.
because her whole cadence changed after that.
She was like a
scenario.
wink. She's like a wink, and it's like I'll catch you, and left.
Yeah. But you could kind of tell in her actions and interactions that she's a bit softer. She's not on edge.
Yeah.
She's not trying to fight everyone. She's just kind of acting kind of girly.
Almost like shows her happiness too, in a way.
Yeah, her resolve.
Yeah, it's like
sure.
like I'm 100% okay with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Naui was next.
Yeah, that's the fucking gut wrencher. He's like, you saved me. He's like, I'm not gonna cry, and then he cries.
Yeah, Otonashi, he essentially goes up to Otonashi and is like, you single-handedly saved me, and you're the one person who allowed me to come to acceptance and terms, and I'm able to move on happily now because of that. And the whole time he's fucking just bawling his eyes out.
Yeah. That one got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then now he disappeared after that.
Mm-hmm. Nice little bro moment between fucking Hinata, because he's like, because Otonashi's like, I guess I'm next, and he's like, no. Like, you got one more person to hang out with alone.
Yeah, so Hinata has his goodbye to his best buddy Otonashi, and it was pretty subtle. He didn't make it bigger than what it had to be.
Yeah,
and
I still felt it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
He daps him, like when he daps him up, dude. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
like, man.
He disappears. I'm like, they could have stayed together forever.
Yeah, and then finally it's Angel and Otonashi.
Yep. And he's like, let's go outside,
Oh,
yeah,
it's like, here comes the confession. You know what's coming. That's like anime 101. It's confession time, boys.
And while they're outside, Otonashi essentially confesses his love, like literally says to Angel, like,
he's like,
I love you.
Why can't we stay here forever? He's like, I love you. He's like,
Yeah,
let's stay here forever. He's like, we can help people move on because there's probably going to be more.
Yeah, and he's like, I won't get lonely as long as you're here with me. You're all I need, essentially.
Yeah.
And then Angel's kind of
goddamn
like not really speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's like, why won't you answer?
Yeah, and then you realize Angel has this confession to Otonashi that she come to. Angel was actually a kid with a transplant, an organ transplant.
Yeah.
And it all comes full circle. She says to Otonashi, like, it's because of you I was able to live a little bit even in my youth life.
Yeah, and she also talks about, like, the reason she's there is because the only regret that she has in life is that she never got to thank the person that gave her a heart and, like, allowed her to live.
Which we find out through the confession is Otonashi.
Yep.
So Otonashi was filling out the organ donor card. They used his heart in a transplant for her.
Yep. And that goes too where she, she talks about the same thing. She's like, and then he's like, he doesn't believe it. And she's like, you heard that heartbeat that you heard when you laid on my chest was your heart. And also when I stabbed you in the beginning, you had no heart. So I knew it was you. Yeah.
And then she said, the only reason you regained the last half of your memories is because you fell asleep on my chest and you heard your heartbeat.
Yep.
And yeah.
Damn. And then
it's rough.
Yeah, dude.
So
here's the roughest part.
Yeah. You go ahead. I don't want to say it.
I'll let Doug hit it. Hit it, Doug.
All right. So he pretty much is like, will you stay here with me? And she pretty much says she can't.
Yeah.
But she wants to hear him say that he loves her because she loves him also.
Yeah.
And you kind of get
serious
this
love,
You get that satisfaction of, okay, they love each other. They really do, and it's gonna work out. And then she's just
fuck.
gone.
he hits her with the ice teru. Oh fuck. And then which is I don't know if you know, like the difference of like that too, because like they have like one's basically like I like you, and the other one's like I love you. Right.
Well, yeah, and the worst part was, like, while he was holding her and hugging her and embracing her during all this, that's when she disappeared.
Yep. And then he just, like, falls over, and then he's, like, screaming.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, dude.
And that's the end of the series.
Well, there's a little after
is.
credit
It
scene we
is.
can't just
It
glaze
is, but
over,
it
but
ain't.
it is.
Yeah.
I'll say it is, but it ain't.
So the
You know the first time I watched that, I actually skipped the epilogue. I didn't watch it because I thought it was over.
Damn.
Jeez.
And then I found out like a day later, and I had to go back and watch it.
Oh, so that scene, I'll just say, I watched this very late at night on a work night.
Yeah.
And it fucked me up because
Yeah.
I could not go to sleep after that shit.
Yeah, I feel that.
My heart was just so mixed up.
I wanted to ask your opinions of what you thought. Like, where do you think they were?
To me, I like the rebirth. Like thinking of it, like that they got reborn, and kind of like how she was humming the My Song.
The song.
Yeah, and so I like to think of it as like they were reborn. She was humming it. He walked by, and then he realized, that they known each other.
It triggered something deep in his just deep down.
Yeah, that's like if you've ever seen like Your Name, that's kind of like something similar that happens.
Yeah, and then after that, he turns around and goes to walk toward. So, okay, sorry, we didn't even explain this, but after that final scene happens, after the credits, there's a little scene that pops up. It shows a girl who clearly looks exactly like Angel.
Like white-haired.
She's whistling and humming one of the songs, and an orange-haired guy is walking by her. He hears her humming that song, and he instantly turns around after he realizes it. And starts running towards her and goes to grab her, and then it's just cutscene done.
Yep.
And essentially that's Otonashi and Angel and their next life, and he's realizing it's her.
Yeah. Well, that's how I like to see it, because that's like a really like positive, like good emotional ending.
Yeah,
so I'm sure you can look at it a different way, but that's the way that I accept it.
Well, what other ways do you think there? I haven't thought about it in any other way, honestly. Like, what other ways what negative ways do you think it could be?
It might not be Otonashi.
It's not real life, basically. Like maybe it's not.
It could be her, but it could just be some other guy, and I don't know. I know I did see some other opinions on what it could be because I myself was curious because it left a lot for interpretation. Mm-hmm. But I believe, like you guys, I think it's the reincarnation.
I think that's the best way to look at it. Honestly, that's the one that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, especially since
they were talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
You were talking about it earlier, so I mean, I just wish they would have just said like, yeah, they're together and happy in the end, not just kind of make me try to believe that with this fucking telling me the minimalist shit.
Yeah, I mean, like,
just tell me they're together and happy, please.
Yeah, I mean, like, they also have like the like negative part to where it's like, it's just like a dream sequence type thing, and then because I know there's like another one where it's like an alternate ending to where he's like still in the afterlife.
Yeah, I read about that. I read how there's
like he never moves on, and I go, I don't fucking like that.
Yeah, well, and this is where when Yuri was talking to the computer guy, when you were explaining that the guy who created this program was a guy who fell in love, and then everyone else moved on except for him. That's what I meant by it's kind of like Otonashi because that essentially is what happens to him in that moment.
Yeah, and I think that's where they like go along. It was like where they talk about like the programmer that they say like Otonashi was like the programmer. Like I've heard that theory too.
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking that because like it could just be like another recycle of them in the afterlife. You know what I mean? They could be, since they talk about reincarnation, they could keep being reborn and brought back to this.
That's a good theory.
So it's a lot of like open-ended things, but I mean, like I said, if you just pick the one that fucking hits your heart, I think it's good.
Well, that's why they leave it like that. It kind of leaves. They want you to kind of make your own, version of what actually happens after, obviously, the very obvious ending. They want you to kind of have your own assumption with that last little scene.
Yeah,
and that's what makes this anime a very good one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And to give a little thing, because the only note I took was because it's an interesting part of it that I really like about it.
And TK's OG.
Well, yeah, that too.
With that.
But so an interesting thing is like, so like all names have meaning, right? And so Otonashi's name is Yuzuru. And so,
Yes.
they have that talk about, like, what their name means, because he's talking about Kanade's name, which it means to play a song, right? And so his name it means to tie instrument strings. And so I kind of I like that kind of excerpt from it, because, like, they both essentially allowed everything to happen. The strings were tied together, they played the song, and that's what made the whole thing. And I think that's kind of where it goes with, like, Angel Beats, that kind of...
Okay.
Angel, heartbeat, song, strings. He brought everyone together, got everyone to pass along.
And he tugged on my heartstrings along the way.
Goddamn right, dude. Yeah. Holy fuck.
And that's why I like them 13 episode romance anime bangers.
Well, I mean, it was more than just romance too, though. It had a lot of different good things tied into it. And like I said to you guys, honestly, out of all the ones we've watched so far, this is, like, to me, the best one other than Banana Fish.
Yeah.
Can't wait for Erased.
Jesus.
That's coming soon.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was 13 episodes. It was a good 13 episodes. Nothing was under or over explained. Everything, I feel like, was explained, like, properly. And I feel like even if they wanted to, they could have done, like, 26 series episode, and it could have still been just as good.
Yeah, I'm just glad, because, like I said, my introduction of, like, so, like, this is the type of, anime that I really like, and I was just like, you know what, you're gonna like it, and I was just like, I'm glad, like, I got the opportunity to let you see it.
Yeah, it was good. I definitely dug it a lot. I mean, especially compared to the lackluster thing we went through the last 2 weeks. No offense, Doug.
Fuck.
I had not seen it before.
Right. Honestly,
so
I mean, it's got
no
really,
need to apologize to me.
Trigun has, like, really misleading reviews, honestly.
No, but I mean, what would you rate Angel Beats?
I'm a 9 all day for this.
9? That's strong.
I'm gonna say 9 also. I think the plot was really strong. I think the pacing was perfect.
I love all the characters.
I love most of the characters.
TK is a blessing on the world.
TK best boy.
He's best boy. But I liked everything about it. I watched this in 2 sittings.
Oh yeah, dude.
I watched 8 in a row and then 5 in a row.
I watched it again and I still fucking cried, so it is what it is.
I won't sit at a 9. I'll give it an 8.5. I liked it a lot. Honestly, I loved it. You know what I mean? Like I said, other than Banana Fish, this is the best one we've watched so far. Just so many different. There's a lot more dynamic that went into it, and a lot more stuff that came together at the end that was mentioned in the beginning. And the comic relief was awesome. Like, the emotional side of it was really good, and there's still, like, a decent amount of action, and every character had their own, like, personality. And not every single character was relevant, but you could tell what character was doing what just by, their personalities.
That's just the whole thing of, like, man, they distract you the entire time, and, like, yeah, like, this character's backstory is actually the main thing, and then you get Otonashi's, and then, like, Angel, and then it just fucks you up at the end, and I love that, because I never thought that was going to be the main thing.
Oh, no, not at all. I had no idea. I didn't know what to expect. Which is
why I always sit it so high, to where I'm like, wow, like, I really didn't expect that. Especially for only being 13 episodes, compared to something like Death Parade that was 13 episodes. Like, it's a night and day fucking difference. You know what I mean? And that should about do it for this week's episode of the Anime Watch Club. Next week, we are watching Dororo and splitting that into 2 parts. And in the meantime, we're going to figure out what we would do if we were reincarnated as slimes. Like, comment, subscribe. Keep your eye out for more.